Welcome to the Crucible! This is episode 10. I have some facial hair going on, and I dug out of Carbonite one Rebel Spy, Mike. I was just floating through the galaxy in my ship, and there he was, just rotating around in some Carbonite. I pulled him onto the ship. I thawed him. I actually found him 2 weeks ago. The thawing process is long. We've got him. What's up, Mike? Welcome back to the show.
What's up?
So, what's the deal, man? Where you been? Did you fire up like 7 new podcasts while you were away?
I mean, yeah, just a few other, new games that haven't even come out yet.
Okay.
Just
the new FFG unique board game, perhaps? You made a podcast for
yeah,
that?
Definitely that.
Whatever that's called. Is it called Discovery? Does that sound right? I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. All right. Well, Mike, the release has happened. Oh yeah. We didn't talk about this ahead of time, but I just got to talk about it now. Mike,
Okay.
I've done it. I've gotten all the promo stuff. I got all 7 pins.
Congratulations.
I got all 7 chain trackers, and what am I going to do with them? They're all worthless garbage. What is happening, Mike? Why does FFG not have any reasonable stuff for this game?
Why did you do that?
Because that's how I am when I play a game. I'm
question.
like, I want this stuff. What am I going to go into the store with a jacket with like all these pins all over me? Like, check me out, man. I'm amazing.
Yes,
I don't
you
know what
are.
to do with these.
You need to buy one of those like really trendy hats, and then just put the pins like on the brim of the hat. And every single Keyforge event you go to, that's your hat for that event.
Yeah, that sounds so dumb.
No, you will be. Everybody will think you're cool. I promise.
I'm going to wear it teaching and see how that goes first.
Yeah, that sounds like a way better idea.
My students will be all over that. What is going on with your hat? It's Keyforge, man. Never heard of it? Oh, okay. And then the
Yep.
chain trackers. A, you only use 1 per game. B,
Yep.
I don't use chain trackers because it's way easier to stick the whatever you're using to track your chains. Just stick a pile of it on your deck so you remember you have chains. 'Cause if you're like
100%.
me and there's this little tracker off to the side, that might as well not even be there.
Yep.
So I don't use any of the promo stuff that I spent like a whole day driving all over Los Angeles to gather. And then when I gathered it all, I was like, what am I doing with my life?
You might have a problem.
I get too obsessed, man. I just can't help it. So I just wanted to do a plea to FFG. FFG, if I'm going to waste my life gathering your stuff, can you please make it worth gathering? Please do it
You
for
mean
me.
Or
Look-
do you mean to tell me that you're not going to like put the card down for the house that you're playing before you play every round?
I don't even say the house I'm going to play. I just play cards and then you know.
I know.
Oh my goodness. So this is a real question. Do you think we can have alt art cards? Because I think we can. Now
Yeah.
that they've made it clear that for tournaments you give the person your deck list ahead of time,
Hmm.
any player who is decent at one of these high level events will be looking through your deck list and maybe not memorizing all 30, but knowing all the power cards, and so you can't like sneak in an alt art bait and switch and be like, no man, it's totally there, and you're like, I'm looking at your card right here and it says you don't have bait and switches in that deck. I think it's doable. What do you think? Is it crazy talk?
I think it's possible. Like especially the fact that they're requiring opaque sleeves. Maybe that sort of hints at that may be an option. So I think it's possible. I don't know if they would actually do it, but I it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the problem is that's really all FFG does, and then it's like play mats, which those do not excite me. What else can you do? I guess maybe like better damage counters and chains, and that would be fine. I
Yeah,
would have
they'll
been
do, like,
way
for, like-
happier if at all these events I had earned 3 cool amber key things, 3 cool keys. That would have been neat.
Yeah.
So.
Well, they have those, but I don't know how to get them.
I know. I've seen people are like, I won these things at an FFG event. And I'm like, I've been to like 20 FFG events. What are you talking about? Where are you
Yeah.
getting these? No one in Los Angeles has these?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, like the store that I was at, the people who ran it were like, yeah, I don't know what we're supposed to give these out for, so we're just gonna add them to price support later on. So
So they did have them.
they did have them, yeah.
Was that Fire and Dice?
I think it was just unclear what they were supposed to do with them.
Gotcha. And was that Fire and Dice?
It was.
Okay, so we know Fire and Dice has them.
Yeah.
I know the Game Hub does not have them. Collector Legion does not have them. Game Chest does not have them. Oh, I went to another place. Now I can't. It's Game Time doesn't have them. So, like, every store I've called or been to does not have them.
Doesn't.
So, I don't know. I've even been to a tournament that didn't fire, Mike. That was actually, I've been to almost all tournaments that didn't fire. Let me be clear about that. I've been to 3 events so far that did not fire.
No way.
Yeah, it's been. So I guess we should talk about this then.
Yeah.
What does the excitement level of Keyforge seem to be? Because it seems to me like it's through the roof, but no events are firing. So I don't quite understand what's happening.
Yeah, that's really interesting because they've just, I think they just today surpassed 100,000 decks registered.
That's a lot of decks.
Which is crazy. So I mean, it's obviously a success, right? That's at least like $1 million of revenue in the first week for Fantasy Flight and for this game. My hunch is that the only like real events that people have been going to are the launch event and the pre-launch, and a lot of people like walked into the store and like didn't even know that there was an event or like what the game was. So I think people are still starting to figure it out, especially more competitive card game players. But at least what I've been doing is playing a lot like at home with my brother, like playing at my cousin's house. So it's with friends who normally like wouldn't go out to play competitive card games. So
right, that's what I'm most excited about, and I haven't gotten to do that yet. But I have found it's a great unifier. So I've got a whole bunch of friends I used to play Star Wars LCG with. I have friends I used to play Game of Thrones LCG with. And with this game, it's just kind of like, hey, do you got $10? Because if you do, you're all in. And they're like, do I need to buy the starter set? And I'm like, don't buy it. It's garbage. Just buy a deck. You're all in for $10. And so like we all agreed to go down to the Realm, and it was just me and all of my friends from other card games who we had kind of gone our separate ways, sadly, because we weren't playing the same game anymore, all getting together for an event. And that was really fun, and I'm hoping that will continue to happen. And talking to them, they all loved the game, so that was really cool. Everyone had a good time, and so it was really fun. But is this kind of the typical FFG thing, right? Where it's like, they're so good at building hype, which is so funny because they don't build hype. It's just the people who play FFG games build the hype for them. All this hype gets built. The game comes out. They sell every bit of product they have, and that's sort of like the apex of the game. And then it's like a slow decline over a long, long stretch from there. I'm just hoping that Keyforge kind of bucks the trend because of its unique nature. Like you said, you can just, like, I'm going to show my 9-year-old daughter how to play, and she kind of hates card games, but I'm going to see if she likes this one. So we'll see.
Yeah, it definitely lends itself to that. It's just a super simple premise, and it's easy to teach like quickly because, there aren't, I mean, like, it does have depth. Absolutely it does. But there aren't as many sort of like weird card gamey things. And maybe that's like my bias being a person that's into card games. But the people that I've taught it to who aren't like traditionally like super into card games get it and enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree. It seems really, it seems like one of the most simplistic games to play and just do fine at. Like a lot of games, you can play them simply and be terrible. Whereas Keyforge, it seems like you can be fine as long as you have the right deck that kind of supports a simple play style. And then if you see the depth, and like me, what I like about it so much is I'm a chess player inherently, and so I love being able to go like, okay, I'm going to play this dude, and then next turn I'm going to declare this house, and I'm going to come back to this other house because I think he's going to live because they're not going to want to kill him because he's not this strong. Then I'm going to archive a card, and then I'm going to archive this card, which will allow me like 7 turns from now. I will have these 3 archived cards, hopefully, which will set me into this thing. And it doesn't always come together, but being able to look at lines 7 turns down has been really exciting, and that's what I originally loved about Star Wars Destiny. And then they were like, oh, by the way, it's not what we said it was. I know you thought it was my action, your action. It's actually my action, and then you might get 16 actions, and then it'll be my action again. And it was like, that was what I originally loved about Star Wars Destiny. And I grew to accept that and realize it wasn't the game I thought it was, whereas Keyforge, I think, is more the game that I think it's going to be.
Yep. I think that makes sense.
Let's talk about events not firing. So, no, I think it's interesting because I think a lot of stores haven't quite gotten that they're dealing with an FFG product yet, and they're still thinking like it's magic. If I just say, like, into the ether, I just scream into my store, there's gonna be a tournament for Keyforge on Wednesday, people will magically appear out of the woodwork. And so, like, I went to the store. I already named the store, but I'm not going to name each store here because I'm not looking to call anyone out. That's not the goal here. But this store, I went in there, I called ahead. Are you guys having a tournament? Yep. Okay, cool. And it was a super stressful experience for me because it was like in a mall and I was running late and they were like, you better be here right on the button because we're starting. And so I was panicking, and then I couldn't find the store, and I got to the mall, and then there was a Super Smash Brothers display for the new one, and I was like, ooh, I want to take like 20 minutes and just watch this for a while. But I had to not do it, put the blinders on, and ran through, and I get in there, and I'm like, oh, did you start the Keyforge event? And they're like, oh, no, you're the first person to arrive. And I was like,
oh my gosh.
Okay.
That's a bad experience.
I wait like 10 minutes, no one arrives. Like, now that I think about it, I never saw advertising for this anywhere. I just happened to call the store and say, are you guys having a launch party? And they said yes. And then they had this blackboard behind them with all their events on it. It's not even on the blackboard. I'm like, how did you think people were going to know you even had an event? And they're like, no, we sold people decks and we told them and they said they'd be there. And I was like, there's Facebook. There's your own blackboard. There's like all these different ways. And I think what stores need to realize with this game is that you need to work to get a new game off the ground. It's not magic. You can't just assume every Friday night people are just going to show up and be like, is there any magic happening? So that, to me, seems like where a lot of the problems come in.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I think that there's a lot for to be gained by supporting Keyforge, just based on the business model. Like, hosting sealed events every week, and everybody's coming in and paying $10 back. That seems like a pretty easy sell to a game store to try and promote the game.
Yeah.
So hopefully people will catch on.
Yep. So we'll see. I think another part of the problem is it's the LA problem that we have. Like, LA is amazing, and it's awesome that there's a million game stores, but it's also terrible because it's hard to get.
Everything's so fragmented.
Right, it's hard to get a core group. Like, if you looked at LA and said, how many Destiny players play competitively in LA, it might be 150, but if you go to any one store, it might be 2. And that's really hurt Destiny from my perspective, that I can't go to any stores and reliably think there'll be a large pool of Destiny players there, unless I'm willing to go to the Realm, which seems to get like maybe 12, but is really far for me with traffic, and that, of course,
and it's even farther from me.
Yeah, so it's just it's really challenging in LA to make that happen. It's the positives and the negatives, but oh well. Let's talk about decks then, man. How many decks have you gotten?
Too many. Not as many as you, though. Not as many as you.
I'm going to pile up some unopened decks here. See if I can get them on screen. This is not all of my unopened decks. Yeah. This is some of them, and it's a very big pile. In front of me, I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 unopened decks. That is not including the starter decks that I haven't opened either. So I guess I have 14. And then I have like... Wow, I think I have more decks than I thought I have. I think I have like 22 or something.
Wow.
How many do you have, Mike?
13. I have 13.
You have 13. Okay, so we both have a lot. I guess
I have 15. I have 15 because I got 2 with my Team Covenant tokens.
Nice. So, have you used them all?
No.
Okay, and that's my problem too. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have these unopened decks so I can lord them over people and be like, I haven't even opened them all. It's more, I don't have infinite time.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wish I hadn't gotten that many right out of the gate. I wish I'd gotten like 4 here, 4 there, so I could really enjoy them. Like my first 5, I played them all. I got to know them all. I took notes on them all and figured out win conditions. And now I have this big pile of decks, and I'm just like, they all look fine. So I decided I'll just sell the ones I don't like. I like them all. They're all fine decks. Like, none of them are super powerful, but none of them I look at and I just go, this is trash. Like, everyone, like, oh, that's a cool combo. There's this, there's that. This is unique about this deck. So I'm having a hard time. I don't know what to do, Mike. Am I just supposed to take a bath in my decks? Like, I don't know.
I think so. I think that is definitely what you have to do, and you have to live stream it.
That's like a stream I should do, bathing in Keyforge decks.
You get banned from Twitch.
So I don't really know what to do. I think what I'm going to do is just like open a new deck every time I go play, sleeve one up, and have one new one.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a similar boat. I've played probably, I think I've played 5 of my decks, and yeah, I figure I'll just bring like one of the new ones next time and just like rotate that in. I mean, like the beauty of it, it's like, okay, I have 15 decks. I've spent roughly $1,500. Sorry, roughly $150.
$1,500 already. Dang,
less
Mike.
because I didn't pay NSRP on all of them. So I spent like $100 probably, like maybe a little bit over $100. But for what I would have spent $100 on Destiny cards, I have 15 different decks that I can play, not maybe one.
Yeah,
so
not even
like,
one.
Yeah, like the return on investment is huge. And I mean, just the like, if I play against somebody, I really like their deck, like maybe I'll trade, like one of mine for one of theirs, something like that. I don't know if I'll try selling the ones that I'm not using, just because like the effort required and then the shipping and stuff to sell a deck for $10 is probably not going to be worth it. I'd rather trade it if I can.
For me, it was more like I go to the store and there are no decks for sale. And so I feel kind of bad. Like, by the way, just to be clear, I didn't go to all the local stores and wipe them out. These are stuff I got from Team Covenant, from Miniature Market, but I have all this excess, and so I thought, why not just sell for $10? I just can't part with them because they're my decks now, Mike.
Yeah. There's definitely an element of like ownership and like anything is more valuable to you when you have it, just human nature. So having something and then that also being unique that only you have just makes it even better.
Yeah, exactly.
So
okay, so I have more decks than you. I win. Cool. All right, before we talk about our decks, have you done this yet? Have you searched the decks available for like your name? I searched for Tiny or Grimes the other day, and there were none. But I just researched for Tiny. There are tons of them now.
Oh, I bet there's got to be hundreds.
So I don't know what I'm talking about. I must have been wrong or done something wrong last time when I searched. So there's Albino Tiny. Let's see. There's Emir Tiny Crow. I don't know. Oh, this one looks kind of cool.
Oh my gosh, yeah, this is great.
Gunner, Titan of the Tiny Dunes. I don't know. Now I'm gonna search for Grimes real quick.
The Tiny Eater. I think that deck you need.
Eater. That sounds good. Yeah, I am a Tiny Eater. There's nothing Grimes. Oh man,
sad.
Yep.
Maybe they'll add that later on.
Okay, so let's talk about deck quality. Do you have any decks yet where you think like this is like whatever tier 1 is in this game? We don't know yet. Let's stray away from that. Just, do you have any decks that you think are not just good but like uber powerful?
I don't think so. I don't think I have any decks that are just like this deck wins every game and needs to be chained. I don't think I have any of those yet. I have decks that I think are clearly better than other ones, but I guess I just haven't really gotten a good gauge for like what is a like hyper powered deck in Keyforge yet.
Um,
What about you?
for myself, I have nothing busted. Like, I don't have any deck that has, like, for me, a busted deck would be, like, bait and switch, tons of other steel, a pile of urchins who come in so they give you bodies and steel, a bunch of board wipes, because I want to make Amber outside and then wipe the board, like Gateway to Dis and stuff like that, and then Logos with a library access combo. Something like that to me would be way over the curve. A friend of mine has something real close to that. I don't know. I'm going to have to pry that away from him somehow. I'm going to have to convince him it's not good. I'm going to beat him a bunch of times with some other deck and then swap that deck for some mind game trickery. I don't know.
That sounds like something
I didn't say that. I did not say that on a recorded podcast. Tyler, if you're listening, I was joking. The deck that I'm going to offer you is better than your deck. All right. And he listens to the show, so I either have to cut this or the plan is dead in the water already. And I'm not going to cut it.
Well, now that he knows you want it, he can, really milk it.
Yeah, I'm in big trouble now.
Yeah.
But I do have, like, this is going to sound really bad, but I basically just went through all my decks and was like, which ones have bait and switch? Okay. Cool. This is the starting point. Everyone has Mars, Mike. It's like the most cruel trick of the universe.
Mars. Mars is my favorite.
Oh, my God. I'm not happy about that. So, my best deck is Mars, Shadows. I think it's Brobnar, something ridiculous like that, where I just look at it like, how is this my best deck? This cannot be the best deck. And it was actually undefeated. I beat Tyler's good deck with it that I just talked about, his busted deck. I beat a 4 Horsemen deck with it. I've beaten a lot of decks, and then a friend of mine showed up yesterday at the shop with an even better Shadows deck. It was like Shadows, Logos, Dis or something, and it was a really good deck. He had 2 copies of that rare routine job that says, like, steal one.
That deck is so cool.
When you play the next one, you steal 2, a bait and switch, a key charge. So, so it was obviously untamed. But it was really strong, and it wasn't that it was way better than my deck, and, like, I beat him one of the games and he beat me. But it was definitely a deck that was better than mine, and I was like, this isn't fair. Why is your deck better than mine? Like, I had like 23 decks and I don't have a broken deck, Mike. It's really frustrating.
Did you open all of them?
All of them, Mike.
Oh
I was opening till I got a busted deck and I never got one.
Just embrace the Keyforgeness of it. Put chains on those other people's decks.
Yeah, I can't do that.
I know you can't do that.
You have 23 decks. It's hard to be like, you need chains, man. You're like, shut up, Tiny. Just play one of your 23 decks and shut your mouth. All right, so I do have a really cool deck, though. I can't remember the other houses. They're irrelevant.
Okay.
It is, actually, I know Mars is one of them, because all my decks are Mars, and the universe hates me. So I have Time Traveler, and that card is...
Oh, nice.
This is the most underrated card in the set, because we're going to get to this later. People love the 4 Horsemen. The Time Traveler is better than the 4 Horsemen in the right deck, and especially if you could get several of them. And what I mean is with library access. Library access plus the card to go get the Time Traveler into Time Traveler nets you... you get to draw off of that 4 cards plus play the Time Traveler. And then if you have the card I have, that Spark thing that lets you blow up the Time Traveler to kill one of their guys, and then you play that card to go get the Time Traveler. Like, let's say you already have the Time Traveler, you play him, you blow him up, you go get him again. Like, you get this insane thing. I drew, no joke, Mike, I drew my entire deck, and I had half my deck left. Like, the combo, when it goes off, is so absurd, it's hard to believe. And then what happens, I didn't have that much Logos on the board. It was like, okay, I do not have an insurmountable board state, but I have 20 cards in my hand. And my next turn was like, here are 9 disc creatures. And they're like, what? how did your hand so big? So that combo to me is better than the Four Horsemen by a ton if you have sort of ways to augment that. And so like the deck has a rise, so I can do things like play a bunch of Logos guys
That's
early,
crazy.
and then do a rise to set up the combo. It has some archiving out of Mars, and so like when stuff goes right, the deck is 100% unbeatable.
Yeah.
But I lost a couple games to my buddy's really, really good Shadows deck because when things don't go right, it's not as good as a busted deck. And so it's really interesting how some of these decks work like that. Like the ceiling on it is through the roof, but the floor is only reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
So his first deck, though, like it was hilarious. The combo went off, and he was just like, I don't know what game we're playing. Like, this is dumb. So, yeah, that deck is fun, and I've been trying to force it. And that's a deck that's really fun because you have to learn the deck, right? So at first I was like, I'm going to force the combo because the combo was so good. And then I lost 2 games in a row trying to force the combo. So I had to kind of find the sweet spot, and I'm still working on that. Because if you don't use the combo, the deck isn't good enough. So you have to use the combo, but you can't do everything around the combo if you never draw library access. So there you go.
Fair enough.
It's been a fun deck. It's a good deck, but it's not a busted deck.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned it a few times, so why don't we chat about that
Four Horsemen. So, Mike, I'm just going to ask you because I have very strong feelings about this. What are your thoughts on the Four Horsemen? Are they good, bad, or otherwise?
I think they're fine. I think they're just as good as any other, like, decent card in the game. I don't think that they're anything crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I just straight up don't understand like the crazy like hysteria around them. Like people posting they're gonna concede when they find out their opponent's playing a Four Horsemen deck. Like like I kind of get it. It's like, okay, they got caught up in the hype, and like they're clearly people who've never played against it before, and they just like don't understand that it's like not actually that good. Yeah. I sort of my opinion changes a little bit if you are one of the like 2 people that have a like double Horseman deck where it's like 2 of each.
Yeah.
Because then Horseman of like Death or whatever like returns 7 guys instead of 3, which seems a lot better.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, in that case, I would say like that seems pretty dang good, but maybe not
better than that.
$2,000 good.
I'd take a double library access deck over that.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think I disagree with you slightly. I think the Four Horsemen are good. I think they're really good, but I think just saying like I got a Four Horsemen deck and then it's just garbage other than that means you have a garbage deck. Like Four Horsemen don't make a deck. They are one of the many cards. It's like a bait and switch. If I see bait and switch in a deck, I'm like, boom, thumbs up. This might be a good deck. This might be an indication. And then when I read through the rest of the deck and it's not a good deck, then it's a bad deck with a bait and switch. And so I think the trap people are getting into is seeing one good card, or in this case, set of cards, and then assuming it is a good deck when there are so many factors that go into, do you have a good deck? Yeah. A great example of this is a friend of mine. He had a Four Horsemen deck, and he was real excited about it. He's like, this deck is Four Horsemen. It's freaking amazing. I was like, cool. And I thumped him. Like, it was not close. It was my good deck, but remember, my good deck is not a busted deck. It's just a good deck. And I totally destroyed him. And we looked through the list afterwards, and I was like, this is not a bad deck. I'm not saying that. It's a good deck. Like it's a good, solidly good deck, but it's not crazy. And I bet if you sold on eBay, you could get $250+ for it. And if I was you, I would. And he's like, what? Yeah. No way. How would I do that? And I was like, well, there's 3 other rares in it. So you just say Four Horsemen with these 3 rares, and it has a rise, so it makes it look like you can just go get the Four Horsemen again and do it all day. Say that, and it'll sell. And sure enough, sold for $250, and the deck's not that good. Like, we spent quite a bit of time looking at the rest of the cards in the deck, and the evaluation was this deck is good. Like, I have 5 decks as good as it, but they don't have 4 Horsemen. So I think you're right that the hysteria of the 4 Horsemen is hilarious. I actually desperately wanted to open a 4 Horsemen deck so I could pay for the rest of the cards I had opened, because I would have immediately sold it on eBay. So I actually almost bought another box on Team Covenant just hoping to get a 4 Horsemen deck to sell it. But then if I didn't, I would have spent way more money than I wanted to, because I want to support local stores and not feel bad like every time going in and buying a deck to support them. Yeah. Whereas if I bought another box from Team Covenant, I'd be much less willing to do that, because now I'd be looking at, like 36 decks that I don't play, which feels pretty foolish.
It's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of decks.
Yeah.
All right, so what do you think? If you had a 4 horse... Wait, do you have a 4 Horseman deck?
I don't.
Okay, if you had one, would you just sell it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Almost regardless of what else was in it.
Yeah. I don't get it. Like, really, I think Time Traveler... Like, to me, the busted deck would be 2 Library Access, 2 Time Traveler. That deck would be, like, legit broken almost no matter what else is in it, because when your combo goes off, you would have so many cards for the next turn that even if they're bad, playing 7 bad creatures to the board is still this tremendous impact, much more so than playing 2 Horsemen to the board or whatever.
Yeah,
so.
My dream deck, like the deck that I would actually pay more than $10 for, would be some kind of like double Battlefleet key abduction, like Library Access Mars Locust deck.
Okay, yeah, that could be good.
Yeah.
For any listeners out there, if you have a Shadows deck with Steel in it and a Logos deck with Time Traveler in it, especially Time Traveler Library Access, let me know. Let's get a trade going. I got lots of decks, as I talked about. I'm sure one of them will suit your fancy. Maybe 2 or 3 for 1 trade. I could do that.
Oh wow.
That's the deck I'm personally looking for. I'm not saying that's the best deck. That's the deck that fits my style of preventing you from doing your thing and having something really powerful that I'm going to do.
Yeah, right. Likewise for me. If someone out there, if you guys got that Battlefleet Key Abduction deck, let me know. We'll make something happen.
I might have something like that, actually.
Ooh.
I've got a lot of decks, Mike, but every time someone's like, do you have that? I'm like, probably, and then I never do. So
yeah.
So they really are, there really are a lot of unique decks. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very exciting.
This is going to sound bad, Mike. I think I need to buy more decks. Because I only have a couple of even decent Shadows decks, and I basically just want a good Shadows deck that doesn't have Mars in it. That's really all I'm looking for, and I don't have it. So.
I have 2 Shadows decks with bait and switch. I'm sorry, 3 Shadows decks with bait and switch.
That's a trade coming on.
Yeah. One's Brobnar Shadows Untamed.
Okay.
That one I've played with, and that one's pretty good. There's 3 Relentless Whispers, which is pretty fun.
Yeah.
And then the other one is a Dis Sanctum Shadows.
Ooh, that's quite appealing to me.
That one's pretty cool. So we'll have to chat.
Now we'll offline when the podcast is over. We're not going to make this the trading segment of the podcast, though. That would be a hilarious segment. Is what we negotiate a trade live on the air. And then don't even make the trade because we never see each other. I want to talk real quick about evaluating decks. So you already said you don't think you're that good at evaluating decks. I think I am pretty darn good at it, which is probably overconfidence, to be honest, at this point. I've played a lot of Keyforge games, and I do analyze. It's like what I have fun doing, but I am the first to admit that I'm probably wrong and think that I'm better at it than I am. But I want to say this. I think this is the hardest game I've played to analyze decks, because there's too much of just like looking at it in a vacuum, and then when you go play, especially now, and this is not a slight against anyone, most people who play Keyforge are terrible at Keyforge, right? They've just started.
Yeah.
The game has just came out. To expect otherwise would be ridiculous. But so I think I've played like 30 games with my decks, and I've only lost like 3 times, which doesn't mean all of the decks are good. Plenty of the people were like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I was looking at them like I was in a tournament, and this guy was making just horrible plays. But because it's a tournament, I didn't want to be like, hey, man, are you sure you want to make that awful play? And so I was like, I have no idea what that meant as far as my deck. Have you found that to be the case as well, that it's just really hard to get information to figure out if your deck is good?
Yeah. I mean, it's at this point it's hard to know whether it's a skill gap or a gap in the power level of your deck when you beat another person.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the reason why I found it difficult to sort of evaluate. The other thing that that makes me say that is that a lot of decks have sort of surprised me, where I initially thought that it was going to be really bad, and then I played it and I was like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't that bad. But then again, like maybe it is bad, and the person that I was playing against just wasn't experienced enough.
Right. Or it could have been a matchup.
Yeah, exactly. So I think for me, it's a little too early to like for me to feel confident in like deck evaluation in general. And it's like if I can look at a deck that has a crazy combo in it and like realize that it's obviously good. It's the decks that are sort of in that next level where it's a lot harder for me to tell. It's like, okay, your deck has like double gateway to disc, bait and switch, like library access. Like if it has all the broken cards, obviously I know it's good. But
Right.
when it's like a normal deck, like a deck that's within like the 60% of all decks, telling one versus another is a bit trickier for me.
I totally agree with that, by the way. Yeah, and that's been my problem with this giant stack of decks I have. I keep looking at them, and every one I'm like, oh, this doesn't look good. Oh, but it has a key charge, and it has this thing, and it has this, so maybe when it plays out, it'll play out like this, but another thing is, especially if you're playing a combo-y deck, how much time will your opponent's deck give you to set up, right?
Right.
Are they a fast deck? Are they a slow deck? Do they know they're a fast deck, right? Like, there's people who'll be like, boom, I put out 6 Mars characters, and you're like, oh, God, I am so dead. And they're like, and then next turn, I'm going to play 3 Shadows guys. And you're like, oh, so you're going to give me time to find my board wipe and not use your guys? And they're like, yeah, because next turn I'm playing 4 Untamed guys. Take that! And you're like, okay, they're all dead. And they're like, oh, what?
Yeah. But, I mean, that's one of the things that makes this game exciting right now, I think, to me. It's like that not knowing, and like you can't just look at the individual cards in a deck and then okay, this is good. It's how everything works together. And to me, like the only way to really do that is to play it. And that is kind of that's the whole point, right? Is like playing your deck, discovering what works, what doesn't, learning it, and then when you get bored, moving on.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I want to springboard to something from that. One of the things that has me really excited about Keyforge is that while I don't get a lot of time to go out and play, I still will have the opportunity to play online with Tabletop Simulator to get some games in with these, piles of unopened decks that I have. And I don't know if you saw, but Tabletop Simulator got a DCMA, basically shut down production. It's been taken off the Tabletop Simulator.
The whole app?
The whole app is gone from Tabletop Simulator.
Wait. Is Tabletop Simulator gone, or just
No. The Super Keyforge app. Yeah, sorry.
Got it.
So Super Keyforge is gone off there. If you have it already, you can still play with it. And it's fine because there's only the one set. But when the next set comes out, this will be something we address. But for me, this is a big deal because I was really hoping that I could spend some time with these decks. And because all the decks are in the app, it's really fun to be like, okay, that guy's deck has won 7 events. I want to see if this deck is really good or that person's really good. And you could actually build their deck on the simulator and then play with it. To me, it was a really exciting possibility. And it makes me quite sad that FFG has stopped this, especially since basically it was used to build hype for the game, right? And all the other games use it, and all the other games built hype. Like, a good example for me was Destiny. Destiny was essentially dead on arrival until the TTS community started playing with it. I made a lot of videos that kind of addressed the problems people thought, like cards plus dice equals game for children. And I was like, no, there's all this depth. Look, watch how this works. Whereas if we didn't have TTS, I know this is going to sound really bad. I think without TTS, Destiny might not have even fired. Like, it was not being well received. So I guess here's my question for you, Mike. What's going on? Why is this happening now with this game in particular? And are you worried?
I'm not worried. They've sold at least 100,000 decks, so
Okay,
I think I think a lot of people are still going to be playing this game regardless of whether or not there's some kind of tabletop simulator community. I feel like tabletop simulator like really skews towards competitive players, or players who want to be competitive. And so I don't think that necessarily represents the majority of players who play Keyforge. I do think the timing sort of makes me think like maybe they've got something that they're working on.
Boy, I hope
like
you're right on that
Keyforge
one.
app, like Keyforge online wise. Although the flip side of that, the way that decks work in the app makes me think that they're not thinking about that at all, because you can just register anybody's deck and it's like in your collection. So
I don't understand that part.
Yeah, it's like clearly not the case that you're going to be able to play with the decks that you own, because you can just scan everybody's deck into your collection. You own every deck.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure what the plan for that is. I mean, like, I guess maybe otherwise it'd be a pain to trade decks, but I don't know. It just seems odd.
I'm actually okay with that also. Like, I think it's kind of neat that online you could theoretically play with anyone's deck. The problem is it's hard to have like a tournament then online, right? Like, okay,
right.
We have
It would just be for practice
or tournament, and you're like, yeah, with Bobby's deck I'm undefeated, but with my own decks I suck.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope you're right that it's an indication that there's a Keyforge program coming. The problem is I'm worried that this is something in the future, and they're trying to kind of protect that by removing any competition, especially before it really gets cemented, and that they would have to compete with it. I would be surprised if it came out, I don't know, even any time before like Gen Con next year.
I would be surprised if it came out anytime within the next like 2 years, to be honest.
And the problem is that's a huge gap, first of all, for online, for anyone who wants to play online. And second of all, I know this sounds bad, but with FFG lifespans of games, that's like half of the lifespan of the game. If it comes out in 2 more years, by the time that came out, the player base will be pretty small if the typical trajectory happens, which of course we're hoping won't happen here.
Of course.
But yeah, all that coalescing together, it makes me a little sad. I would have loved to have an online. Like, if they had dropped an online version with the release, my mind would have blown. Like, I would have been so stunned, and it would have been so amazing. But that's kind of asking a lot, right?
Yeah.
All right. So before we head out, Mike, let's see. Do we want to give some details about our favorite deck that we have? I've already talked about, I think, my favorite deck.
Okay. What was that one?
That was the Time Traveler Library Access Spark deck. That deck seems super amazing. I'll talk about one other deck I have. I think I might have talked about it last time. I don't remember anymore. Whoa. No, I'm not. I'm going to talk about this deck. This deck looks crazy. Oh, right. So this is... Okay, so let's talk about this. This is one of the really interesting things with decks. This deck has some really bananas cards in it. Okay, so it has Numquid the Fair. Do you know that guy?
I don't.
So this is a rare Sanctum card that says, when you play him, destroy one of your opponent's creatures. If they have more creatures than you, do the effect again.
Oh, I saw that. Yeah,
So
what
you
a
get to
cool
keep
card.
doing it and basically wipe their board without taking chains
Hmm.
in a creature light deck, and this deck is very creature light, like incredibly creature light. But it has 2 arises. So you're like, wait, it's creature light and it has 2 arise. Okay, all right.
Interesting.
It has some really cool cards like reverse time to shuffle your discard pile back in.
That's cool.
But there's no real benefit in this deck for doing that. But so I was like, all these awesome
What's
cards.
what's the deck name?
The deck is the Khan of Traboru, and I have not registered it yet because I don't know. I should just register
Okay.
all my decks, right? Because
I was
there's
gonna look it up. Yeah, yeah. Well,
like
I
there's
mean, why
this
not?
weird thing of like, what's the difference? It just has all these cool cards. It has 2 copies of one of my favorite cards, Mind Barb. You know,
Oh
pulling
yeah,
one of
Mind
your
Barb is
opponent's
nasty.
cards. Like that
Yeah.
could just crush a combo deck in its tracks. Like if
Yeah.
I assemble my whole combo and you Mind Barb my library access, I might just concede on the spot out of pure frustration, even rather than losing.
Yeah.
This deck has only 2 creatures in Dis, and they are Succubus and Charette. I like Charette a lot for stalling, but
Yeah.
it doesn't have shadows, so there's no stealing in it. The
How many
logos.
creatures are there total?
What's that?
How many creatures total does the deck have?
We'll go through. The
Okay.
logos part only has 4 creatures, and 3
Okay.
of them are Doctor Escotera, who is so bad as to be laughable. So that's a problem. And then in the Sanctum part, it has tons of creatures. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and most of them are whatever creatures, other than Numquid the Fair, who wipes the board. So it's like this really weird hodgepodgey deck where it like doesn't have a ton of creatures, but it doesn't have a good way to make amber. It doesn't really have a way to win. I think the deck is probably garbage, but it has piles of amazing cards that I love in it. And so it's this really weird thing. I'm gonna have to really sit down with it and spend some time analyzing it and play a couple of games with it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mike, what's your favorite deck or one you want to talk about?
All right. I've been having fun with this one.
I'm gonna look it up.
The deck is called Butch Naomi Utopia Veterinarian. So there's that.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
Yep, it's a Logo Shadows Untamed deck, and it has a ton of creatures.
I already like this deck, by the way. Logos. Wait, what was it again?
Logo Shadows Untamed.
Yeah,
It doesn't
this
have any
is-
of the good cards, but it's
That's
really
the
fun.
thing I wanted most was that set. So
Yeah,
Okay.
it has library access and wormhole,
Wow.
which is fun on the logo side. But
Let's stop for a
the
second. What is the name of this deck? Because I can't find it.
you might have to put Butch in quotes.
Okay. Let me try putting Butch in
If
quotes.
if you type in Utopia Veterinarian, you should find it.
Utopia Veterinarian. All right. Yeah, Butch didn't work for me.
Okay.
All right. Utopian.
Utopia.
Utopia. I'm just gonna type
Yeah.
in Utopia and see if we get that. Okay, so this is not working. Better. Okay, so I want to talk about what I'm doing right now. I'm actually not typing it in the Keyforge thing.
Are you typing it in your own decks?
I was typing in Burger Tokens. They have a
Oh.
Keyforge deck analyzer, which is really
Yeah.
cool.
That is really cool.
It's one of my favorite things. You get to just put in the deck, and it doesn't tell you how good the deck is. That's what I like. It just tells you all the data about it. How many amber producers does it have? How many creatures does it have? So you don't have to go through and try
Do it
to
yourself. Yeah.
figure all this out on your own. I really, really like that. Okay, go ahead. I cannot find your deck. I'm just going to trust you that you didn't
Okay.
make this deck up.
Yeah, so it has. Well, here I'm analyzing the deck as we
Ooh.
speak. So, but
Oh, so you
It's
got
got
it to come up in
four-
the burger thing?
wait, what? Did I get it too?
Yeah.
I just copy and pasted it from the
Gotcha.
Keyforge app thing. By the way, my the app on my phone doesn't work.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, so I've emailed them about this, but they haven't figured it out yet. Every time I click something other than search decks, like it'll send me to an error page that says log in and then like 403 forbidden. So it's
Wow,
it's real fun.
that's
Um,
rough.
yeah, so I just have to use it on my computer and the like Safari or whatever.
You want to trade
Um,
this deck by any chance?
do I want to trade the deck?
Yeah.
Potentially.
Okay.
Okay, well, let me tell you what's in it first.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. Go for it.
Because you're looking at it. Okay.
Yeah, found it.
Yeah. So I mean, it doesn't have like bait and switch or any like crazy shadows cards, but it does have some cool like archiving and like direct damage. It's got the Macus Asp, which is the snake thing that just kills anything.
Yep.
Um,
The
and
skirmish.
yeah, skirmish and poison. It has 4 Ganymede Archivists, which is the dude where if you reap, you archive a card, and 2 mothers. So, like,
Whoa.
yeah, like a lot of the time I'll just get 2 mothers down, and then if my opponent can't kill it, like, I mean, like you're just drawing so many cards, especially with library access, and those archivists, like you can set so many, crazy turns up, and yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
What's interesting about your deck is the untamed portion of it is so bad. Like,
It's
so
awful.
bad.
Yeah,
So,
the only synergy there is like the cooperative hunting with how many total creatures I have.
yeah.
Because I've cooperative hunting for like 12 or like 13 before.
I can see that. It's got
Yeah.
this deck. Here's I just want to read the untamed because it's so
Okay.
bad.
It's
So it has
awful.
cooperative hunting, like you said, which can be a mass removal.
Yeah.
It has fog bank, which is fine, stalling your opponent
Not
for a
bad.
little bit.
Mhm.
It has nature's call, which returns up to 3 creatures to their owner's hands, which can be really cool if you can use it effectively with come into play effects. I don't think your deck has any. Am I
I
missing
got
that
Dust
one?
Pixie.
Okay, so it has Dust Pixie. I had that confused with Dewfair. I love Dust Pixie, so that's good.
Yeah, Dust Pixie's great.
The Giant Sloth. I mean, he's interesting, but having to discard an Untamed to use him is brutal.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
It
if you had a
definitely can.
way to activate him out of house, so then you could discard Untamed when you're using another house and, like, whittle that down, that would be really good. But in
Yeah.
your deck, he's fine. Then it has Snufflegator ×2, who I think is awful. 2 Nipple Apes, who's worse than awful. 2 Murmucks, who... Like, the opponent's keys costing 1 more is kind of okay, but like,
Fine.
he's not great. And then Witch of the Eye is good, but super hard to use. Like, when she hits the board,
She's immediately dead.
very rare that you get to use that ability.
Every time she's dead.
You don't have, like, a key charge or something where you can combo. You're just like,
Yeah.
I'm getting a card to use later. So it's an interesting deck in that way. But
Yeah.
the Logos looks really good. I love the Logos part.
Yeah, the logos part is fantastic. My favorite part is the Carlo Phantom that I have with I think 2 2 artifacts.
Yeah.
So a ton of synergy there.
Yeah. This deck is a really good example of a deck that at first glance you just go, it has library access, it has Scrambler Storm, it has the Wormhole, it has 2 mothers. And it has Miasma, which is the card that says your opponent has to skip their next forging a key phase.
Yeah.
And it is so close to being amazing. And then you look at the Untamed and you go, oh, geez. And then it doesn't have bait and switch to combo with the Miasma, and it doesn't
Yeah.
have a ton of steel. And so you realize, like, this is just a good deck, right? And
Yeah.
maybe not even a good deck, like a really decent deck, which is what I love about this game, right? Is that, like, when you first glance at a deck, it might look amazing, like a 4 Horsemen deck with nothing else in it. Oh my God, Mike, it has 4 Horsemen. Then you're like,
Yeah.
tiny. The whole rest of the deck is terrible. And you're like, oh, right, good point. It's just the 4 Horsemen and nothing else.
Yeah.
I am really excited about the game, Mike. I am
Me too.
more excited about this phase of Keyforge than I've been about any game probably since the initial release of Destiny. And for me, a lot of that has to do with the fact that I'm just a huge Star Wars fan. Like, if the Niffle Ape was Darth Vader, I'd be like, I love the Niffle Ape. Any deck with Niffle Ape is my favorite. People would be like, Tiny, Niffle Ape sucks. And I'd be like, it has Darth Vader's picture on it. It doesn't suck. You're an idiot. Here's why it's great. And I would make up some elaborate reason for why I was happy to have Darth Vader in my deck. And I will say, Mike, that's the only thing I struggle with this game. Like, if I had gotten 7 really cool Star Wars pins, I still wouldn't do anything with them.
But at least they'd be Star Wars.
They'd at least be Star Wars pins, right? And my daughters might wear them on their jackets or something. But like, if I give my daughter a Sanctum pin, I'm like, here you go, honey, wear it on your jacket. She'll be like, what is happening right now?
What the hell is this?
You are the biggest nerd I've ever met, Dad. I'm like, yes, I know. Yes, I know.
Yeah.
All right. So excitement back through the roof for you, Mike?
Oh yeah, dude, I'm pumped about this game. It's been so much fun to have it. To have it out, to have real decks, to be able to play with people that I don't, often get to play card games with. And, even like some of the people that had, like fallen up from Destiny, playing with those people. So it's been awesome.
I just came up with a great video idea for us, Mike. I think we should do a video where we each bring 2 decks and together we examine them and determine how good they are.
That sounds fun.
All right, there you go. You heard it here. We'll try to put that together. And thanks so much, Mike, for coming on. And where can people find you throughout the interwebs?
Thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun. You can find me on Facebook and Twitter under, I think, Rebel Spy Mike. And I have this other Keyforge podcast that...
No, you don't. There hasn't been a new episode in like 80 years.
I know. It's been very difficult to get our schedules lined up. I've been... Whoa. Sorry.
That's all right.
Been out of focus. We've all been very busy, and it's just... I mean, even I've been, normally you'll text me and you're like, hey, can you podcast tonight? And I'm like... No, I'm not going to be home until like 11. So it's just been a very busy few months. Hopefully things will calm down a bit and we can do some more Keyforge stuff.
What's been good for you, too, is it's been a good busy, not like work's really busy, right? It's like I'm recording, I'm playing a gig, I'm going to Europe. Like, those are awesome busies, right? If I was busy like that, I'd like,
I can't
forget
complain.
my Keyforge podcast. I got real stuff to do.
I can't complain too much.
All right, well, you can find me, Tiny Grimes, everywhere. Tiny Grimes Games on Twitter. I've been posting a ton on Twitter lately, which is weird for me. Tiny Grimes on Twitch, which I'm definitely going to be streaming some stuff. And to everyone on Patreon who supports the show, thanks so much. You are amazing. Everyone you support is so happy and thankful that you do that, so keep it up. And Mike, the musician he put together an outro song for us, so here it goes. Keyforge, Keyforge, Keyforge. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Keyforge.